Most people organize their lives around chaos and call it living. They wake up, they react, they survive, they collapse into bed, and they wake up again to repeat the same meaningless cycle. No plan, no vision, no burning purpose, just drift. And they wonder why their dreams slip further away with each passing year. I've spent 2 decades studying the lives of the most successful men and women who ever walked this earth. Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, men who built empires from nothing. And I discovered something that changed everything I thought I knew about achievement. Success is not an accident. It is not luck. It is not born into you. Success is organized thought transformed into organized action. And if your life feels scattered, chaotic, and unfulfilled, it's because you've never learned the 7 principles that separate the achievers from the dreamers. You see, most people think they want success. But what they really want is the feeling of success without the discipline of organization. They want the mansion, but they won't draw the blueprint. They want the fortune, but they won't balance the ledger. They want the achievement, but they won't create the system. And so they wander through life like ships without rudders, blown by every wind, tossed by every wave, never reaching any port because they never chose a destination. Let me tell you something that will disturb you. Your life right now is perfectly organized to give you exactly what you're getting. If you're broke, you've organized your thinking around poverty. If you're confused, you've organized your mind around indecision. If you're stuck, you've organized your habits around stagnation. The moment you accept this truth, everything changes. Because if you organize yourself into this mess, you can organize yourself out of it. The first principle is this: you must have a definite chief aim, not a wish, not a hope, not a someday fantasy. A definite, clear, burning purpose that consumes you. Most people have no idea what they want. Ask them and they'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want to be poor. They don't want to be unhappy. They don't want to struggle. But ask them what they do want, specifically, and they freeze. Their minds go blank. And that blankness is the reason for their failure. I once met a man who worked in a factory for 17 years. 17 years of the same routine, the same pay, the same dead end. I asked him what he wanted. He said he wanted to be rich. I asked him how much. He didn't know. I asked him by when. He didn't know. I asked him what he would do to get it. He didn't know. And there it was. The tragedy of the American worker. A vague desire attached to no plan, no deadline, no burning obsession. That man never became rich. Not because he couldn't, but because he never organized his mind around a definite aim. Listen closely. Your mind is the most powerful tool ever created. But like any tool, it must be directed. A hammer in the hands of a confused man builds nothing. A hammer in the hands of a man with a blueprint builds a cathedral. Your thoughts are the hammer. Your definite chief aim is the blueprint. Without it, you're just swinging wildly, hoping to hit something valuable. With it, every thought, every action, every hour of your day becomes a deliberate stroke toward your masterpiece. The second principle is organized thinking. Thoughts are things. This is not poetry. This is fact. Every single thing you see around you began as a thought in someone's mind. The chair you're sitting on, the roof over your head, the road you drive on, they were all invisible until someone thought them into existence and then acted on that thought with organized precision. But here's what most people do. They think randomly. They think about success for 5 minutes. Then they think about failure for an hour. They think about their goals in the morning. Then they think about their limitations all afternoon. They think about abundance on Sunday. Then they think about scarcity from Monday to Saturday. And they wonder why nothing changes. Your mind doesn't respond to occasional thoughts. It responds to dominant thoughts. The thoughts you return to again and again. The thoughts you emotionalize. The thoughts you organize into a clear, repetitive pattern. Thomas Edison understood this better than almost any man I ever studied. When he set out to create the incandescent light bulb, people thought he was insane. He failed over 10,000 times. 10,000 experiments that didn't work. Most men would have quit after 10. After 100, they'd call themselves foolish. After 1,000, they'd accept defeat. But Edison never failed. He simply discovered 10,000 ways that didn't work, and each discovery brought him closer to the one way that did. What was the difference? Edison organized his thinking. He didn't scatter his attention across a dozen projects. He didn't doubt himself into paralysis. He didn't listen to the critics who call him a dreamer. He focused his entire mental power on one definite aim: create a practical electric light. Every experiment was organized. Every result was recorded. Every failure was studied. And when he finally succeeded, he didn't just create a light bulb. He created an entire system: power stations, wiring, sockets, switches. Because his thinking was organized, his achievement was organized. The third principle is the mastermind. No man achieves great success alone. Behind every fortune, every empire, every breakthrough, there is a group of minds working in harmony toward a common goal. Andrew Carnegie taught me this. He built one of the greatest steel empires the world has ever seen, yet he knew very little about steel. What he knew was how to gather men who did know steel, men who knew finance, men who knew transportation, men who knew labor, and unite them under one vision. Most people try to do everything themselves. They don't trust others. They don't seek counsel. They think asking for help is weakness. And so they struggle alone, carrying burdens that were meant for many shoulders. But the mastermind principle multiplies your power. When two minds come together in harmony, they create a third invisible force, a force greater than either mind alone. And when three minds unite, the power increases exponentially. If your life is disorganized, look at the people around you. Are they organized? Are they successful? Are they moving toward definite aims? Or are they drifters, complainers, excuse makers, and dream killers? You cannot soar with eagles if you're surrounded by turkeys. You cannot organize your life if you're constantly pulled into other people's chaos. The fourth principle is autosuggestion. This is where most people lose the battle. They set a goal, they create a plan, they take a few steps, and then their subconscious mind sabotages them. Why? Because their subconscious has been trained for years to believe they are not worthy, not capable, not destined for greatness. And the subconscious mind is far more powerful than the conscious mind. It runs silently in the background, shaping your decisions, your emotions, your habits, your entire life. You must reprogram it. And the tool you use is autosuggestion. You must feed your subconscious mind daily with the exact image of the person you intend to become. Not once, not when you feel like it. Every single day, morning and night, you must see yourself already in possession of your definite chief aim. You must feel the emotions of that achievement. You must speak to yourself with certainty and faith. Over time, your subconscious accepts this new identity as reality and begins to organize your thoughts and actions to match it. I knew a man who wanted to become a public speaker, but he was terrified, shy, awkward, couldn't speak to three people without trembling. He came to me defeated. I told him to stand in front of a mirror every morning and evening and speak to himself as if he were already the confident speaker he desired to be. He thought I was foolish, but he did it. For 90 days, he practiced. And something shifted. His posture changed. His voice deepened. His confidence grew. Within a year, he was speaking to audiences of hundreds. Within 3 years, thousands. Not because he suddenly became talented, but because he organized his subconscious mind to support his definite aim. Before I continue, answer one question honestly. Are you truly ready to organize your life, or are you waiting for someone else to do it for you? If you're still listening, something inside you is waking up. The fifth principle is Transmutation of desire into action. Desire is the starting point, but desire alone achieves nothing. The graveyards are full of people who desired wealth, health, love, and success, but never moved beyond wishing. You must transmute that desire. You must convert the invisible energy of wanting into the visible energy of doing, and this requires a plan. Most people have no plan. They say they want success, but they have no written steps. They say they want wealth, but they don't know how much they need, buy, when, or what they'll give in return. They say they want a better life, but they take no daily action toward it. And so their desire remains a ghost, a haunting feeling that torments them but never materializes. Henry Ford was told by engineers that his vision of a V8 engine in a single block was impossible. The laws of physics, they said, wouldn't allow it. But Ford didn't care about impossibility. He cared about his vision. He organized a team. He set a deadline. He refused to accept failure. For months, the engineers came back with reasons why it couldn't be done. Ford simply said, "Keep working." And eventually, they did it. The impossible became possible because one man transmuted his desire into relentless, organized action. The sixth principle is persistence. This is where 95% of people fail. They start strong, they feel motivated, they take action for a week, a month, maybe even 3 months, and then they hit resistance. The results don't come fast enough. The obstacles seem too big. The criticism gets too loud, and they quit. They tell themselves it wasn't meant to be. They tell themselves they gave it their best shot. But the truth is, they simply lacked persistence. Persistence is not stubbornness. Stubbornness is doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results. Persistence is refusal to quit while continuously adjusting your approach until you find what works. It is the sustained application of effort in the face of every discouragement. It is the one quality that separates temporary enthusiasm from permanent achievement. I studied the lives of more than 500 men of great wealth, and in every single case, persistence was the key. Not talent, not education, not connections, persistence. The ability to keep moving forward when every voice says stop. The ability to take one more step when your legs are trembling. The ability to try one more time when everyone else has called you a fool. There was a man who failed in business at age 21, lost a legislative race at 22, failed again in business at 24, lost the woman he loved at 26, had a nervous breakdown at 27, lost a congressional race at 34, lost a senatorial race at 45, failed in an effort to become vice president at 47, lost another senatorial race at 49, but at age 52, Abraham Lincoln became president of the United States. What if he had quit at 51? The seventh principle is decision. The world is filled with indecisive people, people who can't choose, people who wait for perfect conditions, people who need everyone's approval before they act. And these people never accomplish anything significant. Why? Because indecision is a habit. And like all habits, it compounds over time. The more you avoid decisions, the weaker your decision-making muscle becomes, until eventually you can't even decide what you want for breakfast without anxiety. Successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them quickly. They flip-flop. They second-guess. They poll their friends. They wait for signs. And while they wait, opportunity passes them by. Life rewards decisiveness, not perfect decisions, not risk-free decisions, bold, clear, committed decisions followed by persistent action. Every man who accumulated a fortune made a decision at some point to do so. Not a wish, a decision. And once that decision was made, they never reconsidered. They organized their entire life around that decision. They cut off all possibility of retreat. They burned the ships. And they moved forward with the certainty of someone who knows that failure is not an option because there is no turning back. Now, let me tie this together for you. These 7 principles are not separate. They are interlocking parts of one organized system. You begin with a definite chief aim. You organize your thinking around that aim. You form a mastermind alliance to support it. You use autosuggestion to align your subconscious. You transmute your desire into daily action. You persist through every obstacle. And you make firm decisions without wavering. When these 7 principles work together, your life transforms from chaos into order, from confusion into clarity, from poverty into riches, from failure into achievement. But here's what you must understand. This system only works if you work it. You can know all 7 principles by heart and still die broke, confused, and unfulfilled if you don't apply them. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. And application requires discipline. It requires daily effort. It requires the courage to look at your life honestly and say, this is not working, and I am going to change it starting now. Most people won't do this. Most people will hear this message, feel inspired for an hour, and then return to their old habits. They'll go back to drifting, back to reacting, back to chaos. And in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, they'll wonder why nothing ever changed. But you're different. You wouldn't have listened this long if you were ordinary. Something in you is hungry. Something in you refuses to settle. Something in you knows that you were meant for more. Let me tell you what happens when you organize your life around these principles. First, clarity comes. The fog lifts. You stop wondering what you should do and you start knowing. Second, energy increases because energy follows focus. When your mind is scattered, you're exhausted. When your mind is organized, you're powerful. Third, opportunities appear, not because they weren't there before, but because you're finally awake enough to see them. Fourth, people are drawn to you because organized people radiate confidence. And confidence is magnetic. I've seen men go from poverty to prosperity in less than 5 years by applying these principles. I've seen women transform their lives completely by organizing their minds around a definite purpose. I've seen young people with no advantages rise to positions of influence and wealth because they refuse to live like everyone else. And I've seen talented, educated, capable people waste their entire lives because they never learned to organize. Here's the painful truth. You can have the best ingredients in the world, but if you don't follow the recipe, you won't get the cake. You can have intelligence, talent, opportunity, and resources, but if you don't organize them into a system, you'll achieve nothing. Success is not about what you have. It's about what you do with what you have. And what you do is determined by how organized your thinking and actions are. Think about your life right now. Is it organized? Do you have a clear, written, definite chief aim? Do you think about it daily? Do you have a plan with specific steps and deadlines? Do you have people around you who support your vision? Do you talk to yourself in ways that build faith and confidence? Do you take action every single day toward your goal? Do you persist when things get hard? Do you make decisions quickly and stick to them? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then you know exactly why your life feels chaotic. But here's the beautiful part. You can change it. Today, right now. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need more time. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a decision. One clear, committed decision to stop living in chaos and start living with purpose. And once you make that decision, everything else begins to fall into place. Because decision is the spark that ignites the fire, and persistence is the fuel that keeps it burning. Let me leave you with this. The principles I've shared with you are not theories. They are laws. As certain as the law of gravity, as reliable as the law of cause and effect. When you apply them, they work. Not sometimes, not if you're lucky, always. But they require something from you. They require effort, They require faith. They require the willingness to look foolish to people who don't understand. They require the courage to keep going when results are slow. They require the discipline to organize your thoughts, your time, your relationships, and your actions around one burning purpose. Most people will never do this, and that's why most people live ordinary lives. But you are not most people. You've listened to this message not by accident, but by design. Something in you is ready. Something in you is hungry. Something in you knows that the chaos ends now and the organization begins. So here's what I want you to do. When this message ends, take out a piece of paper. Write down your definite chief aim. Not what you think you should want, what you actually want. Be specific. Be bold. Then write down one action you will take today to move toward it. Just one. And then take it. Don't wait. Don't overthink. Don't ask for opinions. Just act. And tomorrow, take another action. And the next day, another. And before you know it, your life will be organized. Your path will be clear. Your progress will be undeniable. The man who drifts through life without purpose will always be at the mercy of circumstances. But the man who organizes his life around a definite aim becomes the master of his fate. He doesn't wait for opportunity. He creates it. He doesn't hope for success. He plans it. He doesn't wish for change. He becomes it. Your life is waiting. Not someday. Not when conditions improve. Now. The principles are here. The power is within you. The only question is, will you organize it? Will you take these 7 principles and build your life into something magnificent? Or will you return to chaos and wonder why nothing ever changes? I believe you will choose organization. I believe you will choose purpose. I believe you will choose to become the person you were meant to be. Because if you didn't believe it too, you wouldn't still be here. Now go. Organize your mind. Organize your day. Organize your life. And watch what happens when you finally stop drifting and start building. If this message spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want more messages that grow your soul, subscribe, because your journey has just begun.